Hello again. We are back in the musical
realm.
Realm sounds cool. We are continuing the favorites with Dad's final favorite, U2, the Joshua Tree.
1987 album.
1987. It's well over 30 years old by now. Like 33.
Yeah.
I saw the 30th anniversary tour in which they played this album in its entirety in the Superdome. Me and about 80,000 other people enjoyed it.
Yes.
Cool.
How many like concerts do you think you've been to?
Do
you have like a list? I know you have a giant bucket full of tickets, which you are looking at right now.
There's no clue.
There's no clue. Without number, as many stars as there are in the sky.
Because there's like
I can't imagine how many I've been
It's the
to.
same number.
Because like over there, there's a Stone Temple Pilots earplug thing. So you went.
That's true.
Other than the...
You've been to as many concerts as you have pieces of Seth Rollins merch.
Almost.
Yeah.
I you know what's funny too is like there are times like I'll think I saw them and then I'm like, but I don't even know where I saw them. You know what I mean? I just know I saw them somewhere because you wind up going to festivals and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
So like I went to every Springfest, which is a festival in Pensacola that took up all of downtown, and so you could wind up seeing 25 actual performances over the course of 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, and does that count as a one concert?
Right.
Does each day count?
And we went to Voodoo Fest right before this whole pandemic.
Yeah,
we jumped off. Saw Guns N' Roses.
You saw
Post Malone.
You saw Beck and Post Malone.
And Guns N' Roses too.
Beck and Post Malone seems like a very weird combination.
Different
nights.
Guns
N' Roses.
And Guns N' Roses.
Those were the headliners of each night, though. They kind of let you go into them each.
Because you got the hipsters, you got the old guys, and you got.
That's the beauty of festivals, though.
And you got the.
Is Beck the hipster guy?
Beck is the hipster.
Okay, that's fair.
Beck is very hipster. And then Post Malone is the what?
The Zoomers.
The Zoomers? Do Zoomers listen to Post Malone?
Yeah.
I don't listen to Post Malone.
Okay, back to the Joshua Tree.
Joshua Tree. Yes, sorry, we got off topic a little bit.
Said it is the 5th studio album from U2.
Which is kind of crazy to me, because I always kind of... Well, I guess, yeah, War. I've always kind of viewed War as the debut.
Wikipedia says that it is a socio-politically conscious, lyrically embellished spiritual imagery full record contrasting the antipathy for real America with their fascination with the mythical America.
The myth.
The kind of conceptual America as opposed to the reality, especially in the 80s.
Correct. And he wrote this as the purpose of the 30th anniversary tour, they had an album in the can and they were going to put it out. And Bono told Edge, I think that the content on the Joshua Tree is more relevant now than it was when we wrote it.
But Bono being the lead singer and frontman.
3 years ago when they did it.
Bono being the lead singer and frontman of U2. And
right.
Edge being the guitarist.
If you don't know who Bono is, you're not listening to this.
Yeah.
Bono was, when the senator got shot a couple years ago, Bono went to the Senate, walked around, then he went to the hospital, visited the senator. Elementary school kid. Now, Bono is not big in the elementary schools anymore. Elementary school kids were in the hall, and they go, is that Bono? They even knew who that dude was. They didn't know who any of the senators were. But you know what I mean? He's still a person people know who he is.
Yeah.
Which, and to be fair, he's a pretty big deal. I mean, and he chose to, you know what? Okay, so they tour with an album that a lot of times when you have these groundbreaking records, the album before that kind of sets the table.
Yeah.
And the album before this one did set the table, and they're touring with The Unforgettable Fire. They tour the States for a long time, and they fall in love with the, I guess, majestic plains and deserts and how much diversity there is in just the landscape of a country as broad as ours. And they also begin to note on the world stage, he's noticing things about that. And then he gets into conversations with Mick Jagger and Keith Richards, and they kind of say, you really need to get into blues and country and kind of understand. They understood that your roots of rock are kind of British punk, Bono, but you should dive into gospel and blues and country music, because those are stories that are being told, and it'll help you with your songwriting. And he does dive into all of that, and you can feel it in the album. He also goes to Africa and post the tour, and a big thing with Bono is he wants to cure famine, and he spent his whole life addressing this issue. So when he's there, he's living in tents, and he's being around these things, and he's seeing these people that are the way he put it was their souls were full, yet they didn't have anything to eat. There was something wonderful about those people and the hopefulness, in spite of the fact that sanitation is horrible and irrigation is horrible and all of these things, right? And then he said, you go to a place like America or Europe or whatever, and you have people that have all this stuff and their souls aren't. And there's a certain amount. And so there's commentary on that in here. There's commentary on America's place in attempting to police the world, which you could accuse them of at the time period. That's Bullet the Blue Sky and all that. It's a lot in a landscape. What I haven't ever asked you, what did you think about this when you listened to it?
Initially, I wasn't super into it, but as I listened to it more and kind of read the lyrics and what he was kind of meaning by them, it clicked, and I was like, oh, he's talking about different socio-political issues.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about, I love Where the Streets Have No Name, which is the opener, just talking about kind of like removing the borders between people in a lot of ways.
Right.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked it quite a bit. After a little bit, there are some parts that I don't like because I'm just not a huge fan of Bono. His voice is not my favorite. I think when it works on this album, it works, but when it doesn't, it doesn't. But I enjoyed it. I haven't actually listened to much U2 at all, in all honesty. I wouldn't be able to name... Well, especially before this record, I probably would not have been actually able to name a U2 song.
You hadn't heard those first three?
Oh, I've heard them, but I would not have maybe been able to attribute them to U2. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up listening to classic rock stations with my mom and, disco and stuff, so a lot of the time I know the songs by heart.
Right.
But I have no idea who the artist is.
Yeah.
That's why when you went in on that... when we made those playlists, and your playlist had a lot of the what's the genre?
Funk.
A lot of funk on it. I went through and I was like, okay, this is who these songs are by.
Right.
I finally connected them to the artist.
Right.
And U2's always been one of those kind of nebulous bands for me, where it's like U2 was really famous.
Yeah.
For a really long time.
Yeah.
Wildly popular. I just don't. I've never sat down and been like, okay, I'm going to listen to U2.
Right. I think that there is, and there has been for a long time, a pushback to their popularity.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Again, with a lot of bands who become larger than bands in a lot of ways, there's always pushback at a certain point.
Well, he kind of made fun of it. The next album is Octoon Baby. They do, and he creates a character that he plays called The Fly, and he's this rock star that can't identify with the world and things like that, right? Because of these four guys met in high school. You know what I mean? Like they went to a cork board that said, "Hey, I'd like to start a band," and they wind up being, for lack of a better way to put it, the Stones, and start out being a punk band that boom, 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 and then, like you said, dives into this. I love this record, but I get what you're saying. Now, we'll get to the question.
That's the question right now.
Yes. How did you feel about the opener?
Streets Have No Name.
I still haven't found what I'm looking for. The Streets Have No Name. Streets Have No Name.
Yeah, it's where, dude, the opening to this album is kind of wild. It's Where the Streets Have No Name. I still haven't found what I'm looking for, and then With or Without You.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, damn.
Yeah, they start out with staples in
Yeah.
pop radio. Yeah.
I like the opener.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite songs on the album, I might say.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites too.
When you were talking about what he's writing about too, in the way he takes the Belfast streets, and he realizes that he associates the fact that I can tell who you are in this society here, how rich you are by the street you live on. And that's every city in the world, by the way.
The lines between people are drawn literally in pavement in a lot of ways.
Absolutely.
And that's because I think the Genius thing said he went to like a country in South America where the streets did not have names.
Right.
So people were just people.
Right.
People didn't identify based on what street they grew up, or that this street is for rich people, this street's for poor people. They just lived there.
Right.
I think
Right.
I love that idea.
Utopian.
That kind of removing of borders between people and like lines and
Right.
stuff.
And and it just, to me,
Kind
it was
of like Imagine. Except
not
like way better.
hypocritical, not I don't have to listen to celebrities sing this song.
I'll tell you what, man. To me, Bono is really good at turning a phrase. His lyric, the way he writes lyrics and the way he grasps what needs to be said and how important he makes it sound is really good, really high level.
He puts the mood correctly in the way that he phrases things.
Oh,
I think.
absolutely. And he spends time too. Well, we'll get to that. Okay. How'd you feel about the closer?
The closer was Mothers of the Disappeared. It was alright.
It's not as good as the rest of it.
Yeah, I don't have like a super strong opinion of it. I feel like Exit would have been a better closer just because I liked Exit a lot more.
I get it. Yeah. What about you, Ray? What you think about the closer? Okay.
It's probably it might be the most song on the album.
This album to me kind of curves a little bit, where it's like it starts out the first 5 songs I really liked, and then I didn't really like a couple of them, and then I liked like One Tree Hill and Exit, and then I kind of didn't like Mothers of the Disappeared. The album's a little bit up and down for me.
You like what was your favorite track?
Maybe Bullet the Blue Sky, or I did just like Running to Stand Still. Probably musically Running to Stand Still, and holistically Bullet the Blue Sky.
Maybe Red Hill Mining Town.
Okay, that's cool that you guys mentioned those 2 tracks. From about 1989, for whatever reason, to about 1995, I thought Bullet the Blue Sky was the best song that's ever been written. It's just so overwhelming, you know what I mean? And it's...
See, again, what you were talking about, where how he phrases things, it's really evocative. It's very...
Rattling home.
Yes. Just from the firefly, red orange glow, see the face of fear running scared in the valley below. Like, that just rules.
Right. And then when you say Red Hill Mining Town, if it's okay, I'll tell a story about when we saw him do this. Gotta remember, he wrote this 30 years earlier, right? And that song, Red Hill Mining Town, when he gets to that chorus part, it's hard to sing that. It's way up there. And the first time around he does it, he kind of he misses a little. You know, he's walking around and he's holding the mic loosely and he doesn't quite get to the note, and he kind of has to pull it down an octave a little to finish it. He walks over to the mic stand, puts the mic on the mic stand, and you can see when that part's coming up, you can see him start to dial in like he's in the studio, and literally every muscle in his body tenses up and he clenches his fist, and then as he goes for that note, he opens his hands and lets go, and you can see the satisfaction on his face for knocking that out. You know what I mean? It was just a really cool moment for me watching a show. And the song itself is about, to me, it feels like it's about trying to continue a way of life that's going away, and you can't stop the fact that it's going away.
Yeah.
Mining is not going to go on forever. You know what I mean? I mean, it literally is pulling things out of the earth. You know what I mean?
There's only a certain amount.
Right, and you can't do that in that one town forever. You know what I mean? And so You can,
but those people in that town, that's all they have. That's what the town was based on. That's what the town is built around.
yes, and people who try to stop that way of life get a great deal of pushback from those people because they have no alternative to their way of life. You know what I mean? And so you're telling me I'm going to be obsolete when not that long ago I wasn't. And the concept of thinking, well, I want to relieve you from the mining life is the absolute opposite of what those people in that town want. There's so much to uncover in that song, and it's just, I love that track. I mean, with or without you, the lyrics in that thing are just, it's crazy, and still haven't found what I'm looking for. I mean, for a guy who's based in punk to sit down and in a matter of months analyze gospel music and write a song that is being sung in Harlem churches by the time he's doing the next tour, that's pretty strong way of being able to embrace what you're yeah. For me to pick a favorite, I would probably go with Red Hill Mining Town. I'll tell you though, I was listening to this record and I may be just talking out of turn on some of this stuff, but I was kind of down about stuff. You know, life's weird right now. And dude, Running to Stand Still came on, and I just out of the blue started crying. And kept,
it's a sad song.
And like literally kept crying through Red Hill Mining Town. Because then I started thinking about the alternative of what's upsetting me is a group of people that don't want their way of life to go away, and how unfair it is that people are, if you take a lot of the animosities out, people are having to choose between their way of life and a future that's inevitable.
Yeah.
And they can't cope with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's a tough thing to wrap your head around. I love Trip Through Your Wires.
Yeah.
In God's Country. I love those songs.
I liked In God's Country quite a bit.
Yeah. Well. Trip Through Your Wires is, he again, for a guy who based in punk to come off with a blues romp.
Oh, yeah.
You know, it's really, really good.
The harmonica, baby.
Dude, if you are a lead, if you want to be in a band and you are a singer, figure out something you can play that's cool, like a harmonica, or I don't care, use your tambourine, something.
Mouth harp.
Give me something. Axl Rose whistles. Find something cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You gotta add a little bit of flavor.
All right. How did you? I think we talked a little bit. How did you feel about the songwriting?
Generally pretty good.
Yeah. Now you didn't love the vocal performance though.
No, that's actually the part that kind of marks Red Hill Mining Town for me a little bit. I feel especially at the end, it may not be, because again, that's not really what he sings like, especially with like the rest of the album. I just didn't love it.
It's hard.
There were other times, like again, I feel like in the first 5 or 6 songs, I feel like that's the spot for him, like the sweet spot. And some of the other performances in the different genres are maybe not as fitting.
Right. Well,
like the kind of early songs with a little bit of echoey and a little bit of reverb, I feel like his voice really fits that.
Right. Also, I think that he's not a vocal gymnastics guy. But in these situations, like with I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, With or Without You, Bullet the Blue Sky, Running to Stand Still, when he's able to use nuance and whisper in parts and emphasize in parts and growl in parts, that's when he really begins to excel, because he's not really a singer. He's a poet with one of the great guitarists of all time standing beside him. You know what I mean? And that's a little different.
Absolutely.
Ray, what did you think about these writing?
About the writing?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought it was great.
All right.
It's kind of tough to...
I got you. All right, what would you rate this record out of 10?
8.
2 8s.
2 8s.
8. I think it's...
I really liked a lot of it, but there are other parts of it that just aren't quite my jam. Just not something that I'm like super into.
When I look at this record, right? If somebody comes to me and says, my favorite song ever is I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For, I look at them and I go, I respect that.
Absolutely.
So you can do the same thing with or without you. You can do the same thing with sleight of hand, twist of fate, on a bed of nails you made me wait, and I'll wait.
Yeah.
Come on. Bullets of Blue Sky, same thing. You know, like there's literally 5 songs on here that if somebody comes up to me and says, it's my favorite song, not only do I not have a problem with you, I'll respect your opinion on music.
Yeah.
Whereas, but like you said too, Mothers of the Disappeared kind of, it's fine. It's just,
it's not a closing number.
I don't know that it belongs here. I don't. But by the same token, though, I mean that's a small complaint.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm going to give it a 10 in spite of the fact that there's one track that I don't love, because some of those are better than 10, and you can't give it better than 10.
When they hit, they hit.
Yeah, right.
I get it.
Okay, so that's that. What we got next, Ray?
We have next. Oh, what are we doing next?
We're going to do one of my favorites, Talking Heads' 1980. Don't hold me to that. 1980 album, Remain in Light.
Awesome.
Remain in Light. Yes, classic.
Classic. I mean, yeah. I feel like we should talk about it at some point, or at least talk a little bit about Talking Heads.
I feel like if you're going to do a music podcast, the Talking Heads should come up at some point.
Oh, dude, absolutely. Any one of their albums, really.
Yeah.
Especially around that period.
Yeah. Now, do we want to talk about the new music that was introduced into the world?
There was a lot of new stuff that came out.
On Thursday.
There was a lot... Friday. There was a lot...
Thursday for me, I was driving home. So, until I close my eyes, it's not Friday.
It counts, yeah. Until you fall asleep on Thursday, it's still Thursday.
Yeah, so because of the storm, I'm driving like 2 hours home. But right now at night, I can kind of sort of get the bridge that connects me to the beach that I work on is broken, so I have to go the long way. But I probably was in the car an hour and 20 minutes on the drive home, depending on how much I was speaking. Prince, the Sign of the Times reissue came out, and it's got like 60 songs, and I just went down there and I didn't listen to any song I'd already heard before. I didn't listen to any remixes or reissues of songs, and I still heard an hour and 20 minutes of music I had never heard before from Prince. And at the end of that is a whole concert. So
yes,
that was released by his estate. That's amazing. At some point, guys, I'm going to go through and I'm going to make a double album or a playlist of some kind for the Spotify, in which the Spotify machine, I believe it is.
That's not what it's called.
In which I'm going to put all of the really good music that Prince's estate has released since his death into one spot for you to listen to. So you don't have to, because they're literally giving you everything. You know what I mean? And which is cool. I'll listen to everything. But yes, Ray.
New Sufjan Stevens. Sufjan Stevens, he's a indie guy.
He's like the indie guy.
He is very much the indie guy.
When you think about the sad boy indie guys,
he did come out with an album that he did come out with that most people like there too. Carrie and Lowell and Illinois.
Yeah, he's doing his like state named series. Like they're all named after states or something like that.
It says The Ascension. His new album is called The Ascension.
Ah, okay. I know for a little while he was doing
Illinois. Illinois was an album he released in like 2005.
Ah,
so it's like
he's been making music for quite a while.
That's like his album.
Yes.
You know, he is very much the indie guy. New Fleet Foxes.
Dude, yes.
Another indie type band. Fleet Foxes, self-titled, is one of Robert Plant's favorite albums. They're kind of, if I were to like describe their sound, I'd kind of describe them as Simon and Garfunkel on steroids.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, I actually find that to be correct. Yeah, listen to their self-titled; it's really good.
Yeah, Helplessness Blues is also pretty good.
Yes.
New Deftones, and it is.
We listened to that yesterday.
It's
rockin'.
It's fairly heavy for a Deftones album. It's it's not white. If you felt like it does have some more headbanging moments that are supposed to. I don't really think there's like a soft moment on the album. It's kind of a constant headbanger, and it constantly.
In a good way. Did you like it?
Yeah, I liked it. Right. I liked
something I really liked was your band, Idols.
Idols, dude.
That record, it reminds me so much of the Clash, and I'm a big. I like the Clash a lot.
Oh yeah.
And so something that I don't mean it like it's something to try. No, it's just the content is important. The music is rapid fire. It feels
angry,
like
it's full of energy.
It's so good.
Can I be honest with you?
Yes.
I'm not the biggest fan of the album cover of the new Idols album, because it's just like...
It's like a kid blowing a bubble, right?
No, it's like someone getting hit in the face with like an exercise ball. And I agree with you 100%, because the last two album covers, the one for Brutalism is just like this simple like shrine looking thing that fits the name Brutalism.
Mm-hmm.
And Joy is an Act of Resistance has like a bunch of people dancing. And then this one's just like a dude getting hit in the face with a pink exercise ball. It's like a painting of it. It's a little odd.
Like Like I get like the album is punchy, so I kind of get what it's saying, but like
yes,
you could have also like I don't know, put the name of your band like somewhere there.
It's
like,
a little strange. for me, I thought it was when it popped up for me. I thought it was like singles artwork. No, it's album. Still, again, they're a really good band, a really politically minded band.
Yes.
I love their stuff.
Please listen to Joy as an Act of Resistance.
Yes.
If you're even remotely interested in post-punk.
If we're doing another one of my favorites, that's one we should do.
New Joji. Joji's, it's called Nectar. I have actually been waiting for this album since Saturation dropped in 2018.
Ooh, a full album. Interesting.
It is a full album. I actually listened to this one. I actually kind of had thoughts on this one. I will say putting the 3 singles in order in the middle of the album is actually a very smart move. And I actually really like that. But I loved Run. I really liked Sanctuary. I liked the speed of Give Me Love. Even though it's only like 52 minutes, it does kind of stretch out a little bit. And that's probably my biggest problem with it.
Yeah, I feel like most small project, or not small project, but a project that isn't big, an album should probably come in around 40 minutes. In all honesty, because I usually feel when it goes longer than that, there's stuff that could be trimmed. But like a solid 40 minutes is perfectly length for an album.
Especially an album like this. Like, especially an album with Joji's, like, sound.
Yes.
And his kind of lo-fi...
Aesthetic.
Aesthetic, is that the right word? Lo-fi?
Ish. I'm not actually that familiar with his music, but that's the vibe I got from, like, seeing images he puts out with the music, is that it would be a kind of, not vaporwavy, but that lo-fi kind of fuzzy, old, in quotes, aesthetic, where it's a little blurry, a little soft.
I feel like, I also feel like his songwriting on these songs are not top tier. But if you can look past that, this album is actually pretty good. The singles are great. Yeah, it's just it's up and down.
Yeah.
But how about you make your own opinion on it? Okay, that sounded really mean, but like that.
No, it's important.
That sounded,
it's important.
Okay, I probably said that wrong.
Ozzy Osbourne reissued The Blizzard of Oz, 40th anniversary.
Blizzard of Oz.
And
Blizzard
also
of
there's a
Oz.
concert on the end of this as well from the Blizzard of Oz tour. Fun
That's
fact,
pretty cool.
I saw the No More Tours tour from Ozzy Osbourne decades ago, and he's still touring.
There was a falsehood.
It was a falsehood. There's a live album that goes with that tour. It's really good. Ozzy's got a couple of good live albums. At some point, if we keep this thing going, which I don't see why we wouldn't, we should dive into some live albums. But it's a little
Maybe Live at the
different.
Folsom Prison by Johnny Cash.
That'd be the best place to start, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like a live album that's considered one of the greatest albums ever made.
Well, it's a little
spot.
skewed though, because nowadays bands just release their live music all the time,
Oh yeah.
Well,
which is a little different from it used to
think,
be. You know, I remember
like, there
Slash
are
used to
some-
say if he thought he was into a band, he didn't have money, so he would steal the new album and the live album.
Like,
The live album, he get a feel for who they are, and in the new
Yeah.
album, because that's what's on the radio.
Yeah.
like
If you're gonna steal,
I mean,
limit it to 2 things so you can get in and out of there quickly.
I think there are a lot of live albums that are just kind of like, it's a live performance. What do you really expect? But there are some live albums that are genuinely great.
Yeah.
All of the quote unquote grunge MTV unplugs. The 3 are Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, especially the last 2. Those are really freaking good.
Absolutely.
Queen Live Aid is another one that's just legendary. I don't even really have to make an argument for that. Necessarily.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A lot of good records. But
There
we'll dive into that someday.
There's a lot of good stuff being made, and there's always
Specifically with Ozzy though, Randy Rhoads Tribute is a record that is kind of iconic in his catalog, and it's Randy Rhoads being the guitarist who dies in a plane crash. I think Randy was flying his... Dude, it's crazy. I think he literally flew Ozzy and him's plane into a barn on accident or something. Like he was flying. Yeah, right. I don't want to make light of it because it's horrible. It's a tragedy, but I can't
what was going on?
quite fathom. But then I think of Ozzy's life and hear, well, he snorted ants for a while and that kind of
Like killed a dove.
painted on the wall of his hotel room in
he
defecation.
bit off the head of a bat.
That kind of thing.
All that stuff.
Tommy Lee supposedly went to go check on him, and he was like painting with his own poop on the wall. And Tommy was like, "Bro, you are on another level. I'm going back to my room."
Try to forget. See you tomorrow.
Or
Probably.
thank God he's sober now, but his wife tells the story of him drinking. He got when they went to Russia for the famous Monsters of Rock live concert. He was given a case of Russian vodka, and whatever drugs he was doing, plus drinking that case of Russian vodka, he stumbles to the... I don't think he drank the whole case, but anyway, he stumbles to the top of the house. He's in the kitchen, and he grabs a knife, chef's knife,
Yeah.
and he looks at her and says, "We've decided you must go." She runs to another room, locks the door, and calls the police to come get him. Can you imagine? We've decided. You know what I mean? Like, which demons are discussing this with you today, Oz? You know what I mean? Oh.
Beelzebub. Baphomet.
Okay, is that a wrap?
One more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
DJ Okawari, really fantastic artist, put out a new single, Red Dwarf. Just check out their whole discography. It's great. I considered, I think I've said this before, but I considered getting the opening notes to Kaleidoscope tattooed on me.
Oh.
Because I've listened to that album hundreds of times. It's so pleasant.
Yeah.
So pleasant.
Right. That's great. It's a great idea to put the notes of something you like on. That's smart for a tattoo. I like it.
Because it's not something you're gonna regret. In
Yeah, and it's
weeks.
like I can.
Well, unless they read music, you can just lie to them about whatever it is.
Yeah, I can be like, oh, it's the opening notes to Beethoven.
Or what? Little
Is it the
Orphan
opening
Annie.
notes to Godsmack?
It's my favorite Lil Peep song.
Post Malone,
Post
babe.
Malone, baby.
Is that a wrap?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Okay, Ray, you want to close this out?
We've started to get off topic again.
Copyright 2020.
Copyright 2020.
Go me.
For you.
KP.
You.
Do I have a name on this one? Rush.
Weezer Jared.
Weezer Jared. I would have been.
It's because he has
super
trouble
into Weezer.
breathing, not because he's a fan.
Yeah. Screw Weezer. They're a bunch of nerds.
And for me, I'm actually called by my actual name on this podcast, Ray.
Ray Chambeau.
That wasn't funny.
It's Cajun. All right. Go home.
Go.